Hello and welcome to Inside Tennessee Football's practice facility. I'm Ryan Sylvia. This is Noah Taylor, and we are with VolReport.com on the Rivals Network. And as Tennessee continues to prepare for a challenge against Mississippi State this week, the final SEC home game on the 2024 schedule for Tennessee, we met with two assistant coaches, linebackers coach William Inch, tight ends coach Alec Ablin, and then a handful of players as well. So let's jump right into it with you, Noah. Start with the coaches.
Yeah, talking to Ablin, a good time to speak with him because of the performance by the tight ends in that win over Kentucky on Saturday, particularly Miles Kitselman. I think we talked about him yesterday too, but Ablin able to give us a little bit of insight on that play that was huge for Tennessee in the red zone. The touchdown pass from Nico to Miles. Nico said it, Miles said it after the game on Saturday that it was kind of improvised by them. The play was originally supposed to go to, I believe, Holden Stays. Yeah. We get a little bit of insight from Ablin today, says that, based on, they faced that Kentucky defense a lot, they played really tight there that they didn't expect. And really, again, it just came down to Nico and Miles Kitselman kind of being on the same page on the fly, kind of having the awareness. And I thought it was cool. Ablin said the coaching staff lost their, quote, damn minds and watching that unfold. So I think it just speaks volumes about really Nico's growth and what Miles has brought, a guy that came into this program with not a lot of playing time at his previous stop in Alabama, did the JUCO route to start his career, and is here. I know we've talked about it a lot, but is here making a huge impact and has really been the headliner in that tight ends room for Tennessee, a position that's very important, but a guy I think that has a lot left in him. A lot more plays like that. I think you'll see him a lot more targets here in the critical stretch of the season.
Yeah, and then William Inch. The conversation, it's tough to pivot away from Keenan Peely because he was such a big piece of that Tennessee defense, but kind of got more insight on what his role looks like, even though he's out for the season. And William Inch talked about how players are excited to talk with him because he's able to give them so much valuable insight from his perspective over on the sideline, and he's still really involved in this program. It's not just, I'm out of eligibility, I'm injured, I'm going to kind of fade away. Like, he's still here, he's still active with the team and helping guys adjust, and I think we've seen that with some guys like Jalen Smith, who came in and had a really good game last week, almost 10 tackles, and played a big role for Tennessee. And that's someone that didn't have to play much with Keenan Peely on the field, so now he has an increased role and he's playing well in it. And he's another guy in that sophomore class, Arian Carter, Jeremiah Thielander, two other guys that are really young, and we've talked about how young some of the pieces on this defense are and how well they're playing, and kind of fits in that mix, which I think gives you a little bit of optimism going forward that, hey, that's a guy that theoretically would be on the team next year and should take another step in the right direction. But then also Edwin Spillman, true freshman linebacker. He's been banged up. He hasn't played much. Looks like he's probably trending towards a red shirt, just looking at the games left and looking at what he's played so far. But even though he's not able to go too much, Inch talked about how he's developed kind of the off-the-field sense and the preparation in the film room and things like that, the areas that he can control, even though he's banged up, and Inch seemed pretty pleased with the development that Edwin Spillman's made too. So next year, if you're theoretically getting everyone back, it's a pretty good room. You lose Keenan Peely, but it's a group that everyone's taking a step in the right direction because they'll have that extra year under their belt, and then you bring in a couple freshmen that should be pretty good as depth pieces as well. So exciting times to, I think, be in that linebacker room for Tennessee. But let's talk about the players.
Yeah, Amari Thomas gets asked about this offense, this Mississippi State offense they're preparing to face. Obviously, the similarities between Tennessee, what Tennessee runs and what Mississippi State runs, because Jeff Lebby is a Josh Heupel disciple. He kind of rhymed there. Did not plan that, but a guy that goes back, was a student assistant at Oklahoma when Josh Heupel was there as an offensive coordinator and a quarterbacks coach. They reunited at Central Florida when Josh Heupel was the head coach there. So again, another opponent for Tennessee where there's a lot of similarities and connections with the coaching staffs. And Amari Thomas was asked about that today, what it's like. You face the Tennessee's offense in practice every day. What's kind of the similarities? There's a lot of similarities there. A lot of tempo, a lot of getting back on the ball fast. You would think. Obviously, Mississippi State's struggling right now. They've hung in there in some games, played Texas close for a little while, played Georgia close on the road for a little while. But a game Tennessee is a considerable favorite for a reason coming into. So I wouldn't say that necessarily Mississippi State's run that offense to perfection this year, but I think it could help Tennessee, certainly, that they're know kind of what to expect coming into this game. So I think that's kind of an interesting perspective that Omari Thomas has for sure.
Yeah, you talked about Mississippi State. They're at the bottom of the leaderboard in the SEC, and they're trying to kind of get their feet under them in that new Jeff Lebby era. But Cooper Mays put it well. He's like, if you overlook any single SEC team, you're going to get caught and you're going to get beat. And you've seen that throughout the years. And Tennessee can't afford to do that because they will lose if they don't focus on what's in front of them. And obviously the college football playoff rankings come out tonight. We'll have full coverage of that over at VolReport.com. But Cooper Mays talks about, I mean, you're not blind to it. Like, you're going to see it inevitably, but it's not your focus. And Josh Heupel talked about that yesterday, about no one cares about where you were in the first one. It's where you are in the last one, and then how you perform in the playoffs after that. So Tennessee trying to keep the blinders on, I guess. They know it's not really feasible, but they're not too worried about it. But Cooper Mays also talked about his offensive line, obviously the literal center of the offensive line, but kind of the figurative center as well, as the leader of that group, the veteran guy who's been here for quite some time, played a lot of football, and he understands that there's room to grow. And he said that every time we've talked with him, but it's true. They do have a lot of room to grow. However, he says, they kind of feel like they're building. They feel like they're putting the pieces together. I think we saw that against Kentucky, probably their best game against SEC level competition to this point, where they only give up 2 sacks, and some of that is Nico playing a little bit better and getting the ball out quicker and being more aware of where he is in the pocket, but some of that also is just an improvement on the offensive line, and that also in turn shows itself in the run game, where Dylan Sampson's able to go for about 150, score twice. Peyton Lewis is able to get going in that first half and find the end zone. So I think we're starting to see this offensive line click. I think maybe some pieces are starting to get a little bit healthier. They're starting to maybe, as Josh Heupel likes to say, play as one instead of 5 different pieces, and that is a really good sign for Tennessee going forward, because it felt like that Kentucky game, you got the best we've seen from Nico. You're getting an improved offensive line. Dylan Sampson's playing great. Miles Kitselman's playing great. If some of those receivers can make a couple different catches, the game's completely different. The score's completely different. It's not just a 10-point win, as Dylan Sampson said after the game. It's probably a 30 to 40 point difference. And if you make some picks as well, I mean, there's 9 points left on the field. So we keep saying it, but it really does feel like it is so close to looking like the 2022 offense, the 2021 offense. And if you can combine that with the defense that Tennessee's had, I mean, with how open it feels this year, it doesn't feel like there's any single team that's unbeatable. Like in the past, you look at some of those Georgia teams, some of those Alabama teams, and it's like, man, I mean, even if you sneak in, that's a really tough task to take one of those teams down. Oregon's the consensus #1 right now. I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that this Tennessee team, if the offense can get going, could beat that Oregon team. So we'll have to see, though. There's plenty of season left. Tennessee can't overlook anything, but after this Mississippi State game, we'll get a good gauge on where Tennessee's at, I think, with Georgia, and we'll continue to learn more about where they are and what their playoff possibilities look like, what the playoff picture looks like, and then how likely it is that they could make a run and bring a second national championship to Knoxville after the baseball team did it just this past year. But we'll have everything you need Tennessee football leading up to game day. We'll have men's basketball coverage as well as they head to Louisville on Saturday, and then the Lady Vols and Kim Coswell get things going tonight on Tuesday, and then turn around and have another quick game on Thursday. So everything you need Tennessee Athletics over at VolReport.com. It's everything you need is in the description. Thanks for watching.